Hello, everyone, and welcome to our studio. Welcome, Terri Klein. Terri, you're a motivational speaker, a writer. Your books are currently sold at Chapters at Indigo, right? And you actually welcome new clients
for coaching,
yeah. And you can, I guess, customize for any topics that the clients
lectures,
want.
and for
So let's talk about today's show. Today we're going to talk about about the nesting, right? Empty nesting.
nest.
That a lot of us mothers know what it's about. But why don't you start and tell us what is it?
Well, it's when your kids move out.
Your babies.
It's
Your
that
babies,
chapter
yes.
where the rooms become empty, the halls become
Yes.
quiet, and everything changes, and you're not really prepared. But I think what happens in this stage is that we all respond initially one way, and this is we all get this feeling of
Sad.
emptiness, this aching, this
Yeah.
longing for them
Yeah.
to be home with us again,
Yeah.
this confusion, this feeling of loss. It's like, okay, now metaphorically speaking, the umbilical cord's been stretched too far. Okay,
Very hard.
It's a very vulnerable and difficult time
Yeah.
at the outset. This is one's initial reaction to it. It's lonely.
You know what? I can say from my personal experience, because I had only 1 year that I had no one at home. All of a sudden, they all left me at 1 year, and it was very hard. So I know that for me, for 2 weeks, it took me about 2 weeks of I was so sad, so upset, like I couldn't do anything for 2 weeks. It was so hard for me. And then, life went back to normal, but it was very, very hard. So I can understand. I mean, my other son came back. So, I mean, we only had the, fun for 1 year to have an empty nest. Mm-hmm. But it is very, very hard.
Well, my predicament is sort of interesting right now
Yeah.
because I am not a full-fledged empty nester because I
neither
have
are we.
2 who have left out of 3. And I have 1 who's still home for about a year and a half. But
Me
it's
too.
an amazing time
Yes.
for me to be able to assess the situation and say, wow, what do I really need to do now to set me up for success during that stage to follow? Yes. So, that's an important thing that I'm working on now.
So are we talking about the new norm?
The new normal, yeah. And it's interesting because
Yeah.
all change, like we spoke about in our last session, all change begins with a simple shift in perspective.
Yes.
So it changes up here. So this new normal that you're now about to create it's now in your hands. So basically you have a perspective that you can take here where you're feeling overwhelmed and broken and left behind and like there's no one left to hold, to nurture, and all of these things.
I think it's also that all of a sudden, your baby doesn't need you anymore. I mean, you think, this is the feeling that you get, but I mean, it's not true.
It isn't.
No, of course not. You learn after, but that initial moment that you send him off, you give him everything, and he doesn't need you. Like 2 weeks, you're on your own. Like, he doesn't need you. He's there, he's functioning, and so I think for me, and I'm sure a lot of other mothers, it's that all of a sudden, you're not needed.
Well, that is huge.
Yes.
And as well, the question that we're all left with in that moment at the beginning is the nature of our relationship with our partner. The 2 of you are standing, practically.
We have to go to get to know each other
alone.
Again. Yes.
You have to be able to look at one another and say,
who are you?
Like, this is the man I'm married, and it's
because
time
you've been so
to rebuild.
Because you've so busy with everything else, with the kids and that, and maybe there was not enough time to really. Now it's only you and him. So what do we do from here?
It's the beginning of an extremely exciting journey. So what you do from here is on 2 levels. Well, what I've done from here is, being that I'm almost there, I've actually been working on 2 things simultaneously. So the first thing, on the one hand, I'm looking at rebuilding my marriage. Yeah. So I want to get to know my husband all over again. Yeah. and I want to learn his strengths and his virtues, and I want to remind myself of why we married 23 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I want to get to know myself all over again. And
you're
I
not
want
the
to get
same
to
either.
know myself on a very deeper level.
Sure.
And I want to look at what excites me and what ignites me and what am I passionate about. And I want to determine how to realize my potential. Because, I mean, I was a mom for so many years. Yes, I was a teacher. I barely taught in the classroom. I made the decision to be an at-home mom, which means I committed to my children 1,000%. As far as realizing my potential, well, I did in one area, in the area of mom and wife, I guess 2 areas.
Yeah.
But as far as those parts of me that I want to nurture and nourish and discover and get curious about and explore and get to the next level with me, that's where I'm at.
So
and that's what I ask people.
So how do you do that? I mean, let's talk to those couples, so this mother, father, whoever is watching, that, you know, they have an emptiness at home, and they look at each other, and where do we go from here? What do you tell them?
Well, again, the coaching process always begins with having these meaningful discussions, asking each other these powerful questions. Really,
so talk to
how
each
would
other.
it, you know, could we, there are certain strategies that you have to come up with. Well, first of all, backtracking a little, because I don't know where everyone is on the empty nest syndrome, where they, on the spectrum is what I mean.
Okay.
So for those who are still in their marriage, it's important to understand that you can't sacrifice every moment of your lives for your children. So it's just an important nugget of wisdom that I wanted to put out there, because if you're still in the stage of parenting and you've not yet reached this empty nesting syndrome, it's so important for people.
But I gotta stop you for a second. Even though there's an empty nest, you don't stop parenting.
Well, that is...
You continue. The parenting is continuous. I mean, I know from experience, you continue. You know, I haven't stopped.
I think that I heard this said before.
Yeah.
We start out as directors
Yeah.
in the first stage, and then we become supervisors, and later on in life we become consultants. It's a never-ending role, and I think it's the stupidest name, actually, the empty nest, and the syndrome they attach with it. It's so ill-defined, and it's so misunderstood because of that name. So it's temporarily, your nest is empty. Very soon, I mean, I call it the ever-expanding nest, because very soon, God willing, our children will be, you know, meeting someone, getting married, having children. You know, the tree of life is only expanding. It's only emptying
the nest
temporarily.
Is growing,
It's only evolving, and it's only shifting, and it's such an exciting chapter. So on the flip side, I don't want it to be perceived in this negative way.
No, definitely not.
It's completely misinterpreted.
No. I mean, from my own experience, that once your kids have left and you got over the sadness, there's other things, there's great things. Like, I mean, when your kids are in university, you know, you get them the food, and they want this, and you have to worry about that. You know,
see?
There's different, you find that you need it
in a different
way. Exactly.
And the whole
These two kids still need you.
Yeah, the family dynamic shifts completely.
Yeah.
So all those years that we were taken for granted, we would take each other for granted. Now, when we ever get the opportunity to be together, the 5 of us in our family, where one comes in from here, one from there, we actually have a dinner together. Like, you talk about that being a cherished, sacred moment.
Absolutely.
And you know, my daughter surprised me on Friday. She came home for Shabbat. She's never done that before, where she didn't tell me. She drove in from London. She was standing in the kitchen at 3:30, and I looked at her, and I cried.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, our relationships are better now than they ever were, and they're different. They call you when they want you, when they need you. Yeah. Someone asked me the other day, do you speak with your children every day?
I do.
And I said, you know what? Maybe yes, maybe every other day.
I don't necessarily speak to them. I know, I mean, today, I mean, I learn you text them and you BBM them, you know, but I'm always in contact.
Right. But the thing is, it's
if you
just a choice.
Yes, that's right.
What do we do in life? Our children are given to us on a loan. Are they not? They're
Yes.
loaned to us for a particular set period of time. We don't know, for a particular period of time. We're to love, to nurture, to support, and
To
then
get them ready for life.
set them free.
We have to get them ready for life.
Right. And we are
Absolutely.
to set them free.
Yep.
And after we've created that safe environment and we've given them the tools and the resources, setting them free is a natural part of the process. And if that doesn't happen, then something went wrong along the way.
I got to tell you something that I don't know if you have experienced it, but when I see the change, it's really funny, is when we're, when the kids are younger, we drive them everywhere. We take them here, we take them there, and then they get into teenager. Then, they take your car and they share your car, and, you get stuck something without a car. I find it now that when I go with my kids, like when they come from university or whatever, and when we go somewhere, it's all of a sudden they want to drive, and I'm the one that sits beside them.
It's beautiful.
It's
they
like,
feel so responsible, and you've helped them to feel that way.
It's like so
You've given
fun.
them responsibility. You're trusting in them.
It was hard for me, though, in the beginning to, I'm so used to, being in control of the car. And it was very hard for me to
control of more than just the car.
I was very polite. But I was, so it was very hard to let go and sort of give them that role because they are mature and they are responsible. But that's what I find them.
I know. I would like to actually share
Sure,
a few
please.
verses of a poem that when I was writing this empty nest lecture, at the same time, I can't just write prose. I have to bring my poetry in. Sure. And this sort of just flowed out of me. It's called Dear Child. For 9 months you grew, dear child. My womb was the space that you called home. We were body and soul connected, never apart, never alone. At birth, the physical tie was severed, yet we continued to live side by side. For years, I felt needed and relied upon as mother, nurturer, teacher, and guide. Over time, however, dear child, I felt needed less and less, as if you were preparing for your departure. And times it hurt, I do confess. But I understand the chapters, dear child. I recognize the stages and how they unfold. I also know that I'm not exactly ready to lose you, nor even face the idea of growing old. But why entertain such negative language, like empty nesting, growing old, and losing, when instead I could focus on the excitement around what else I could be choosing? Dear child, you are a gift from God. You've been loaned to me for some time. You are definitely not a possession that I can call forever mine. I gave you the gift of love and of life and the skills to navigate your way through, but opening your wings and choosing to fly is what you had the courage to do. So, dear child, you may have left temporarily, but you are forever in my prayers and in my heart. I now reach out to your guides and angels to protect and watch over you, now that we're apart. This chapter is full of possibility, both for me and for you, for I have now chosen to get curious and to create a normal that is new. It's my turn to step into the arena, dear child. It's my turn to dare greatly as well, for I have a few more interesting chapters to add before my story can be yours to tell.
Wow, that is such a beautiful.
That's how I feel.
It's gonna make me cry. My God, it's such a beautiful poem, and it touches, I think, everybody. I mean, I'm listening to you, and this is something I would want to say to my child.
I think people can
Beautiful.
relate, and I will say
yes.
that my children have been my greatest teachers, and I'm not joking. I know that sounds cheesy,
no,
but
it's not.
they are game
course.
changers in this world.
Sure.
Each of
We
them,
learn every
and
day.
I
Yes.
really have learned from them
Sure.
that daring to dream is a beautiful and important thing, and attaching
Absolutely.
to a cause and this I'm driven to contribute and add value to people's lives, and I honestly, it's like they gave me permission to do that now.
Absolutely, we learn. My kids are my inspiration. I always say that, but I chose a change a while ago, and I went back to school, and I remember my kids, initial reaction, like they were so amazed, and when my kids were watching me doing homework, they were like, oh my God, my mommy's doing homework. Like they were so, I swear, they were
This is
so
not
amazed.
natural. This is not the cycle of life.
They were so amazed. They was like, and I hear them telling their friends, they were so, I think they were proud. They were amazed.
Yes.
And I think it was respect too.
Complete.
Yeah. And I mean, they would ask me, so how did you do on your test? Why did you get? Oh, I'm so proud of you, And what it did for me.
It's role reversal, eh?
No, but what it did for me, I could, because it's been so long since I've been in school, I could relate
to what they've been going through.
what they're going through now. And my son tells me he has finals and he has exam and, he's putting an all-nighter. I understand him,
But
I
how
do.
beautiful is that now that you can be championed by your children?
Oh, it was like,
instead of your children, you always
comic. It was so funny because they would see me. It's like, oh, my little mommy. Like they were so excited to actually see me.
Now you're receiving.
Yeah.
From them before you were only giving.
Yeah.
What a lovely chapter.
Yeah. It's like amazing that I'm still the mother. I'm still giving the advice. They still come to me. I don't give it unless they come to me and they want it and they ask for it. And we still have a family meeting. We always had family meetings.
Wonderful.
Since my kids were young, we have once in a while now because they're older and then we can't get all of them at the house at the same time. We do family meetings and stuff like that. But so it's a challenge to get to empty nesting.
Yeah, but I think there are two things that make this stage easier. And I think there are really two criteria. And I think the first one is obviously the first thing is your mindset.
Yes.
It's your attitude as you approach this chapter and when you get there.
Because
that's
there's
number
no
one.
choice. It will happen. So it's better to accept it and do it in a wonderful, happy way.
So life happens, but how will you respond to this?
That's
what will you do with it? You've been given this.
Yeah.
What will you do with it?
It's
and
our choice.
The other
which
thing
direction
is,
we go.
I think if you feel that you're proud of the chapter before, if you feel that your parenting, you've been successful in many ways at doing your best. I don't mean always getting it right. I just mean in doing your best. I think you feel better about setting them free.
Yeah.
That you feel like you've done your part and now surrender, let go, and
enjoy. It doesn't mean that your kids are gone, that you enjoy your life now. And I mean, we have a little bit of time, so let's talk about what you really need to do now that it's an empty nest with your partner. If you have one, you have to do something.
You need to start all over again, really. I mean, some people start dating again. Some people have, date nights. And
you mean a date night with their husband? No?
I hope so.
Not dating us.
Some people just really start communicating and listening better, and really because it's just the two of you. So, and a lot of people get frightened and panic, and actually, a lot of marriages can't be saved and break up at this point because it's been too much about the children that now when it's just the two of them, two of us, then there's nothing so much left.
So start before. Start, way back
That's
before.
the key, and it ties into the thrive or survive. You can't just be surviving in your marriage. Yeah. You have to be thriving. I've got nieces and nephews right now, a whole slew of them. We're in the marriage phase now. We just finished, bar mitzvah was many years ago, and believe it or not, we're in the stage of marriage. And I invited all of my nieces and nephews. I've got, I don't know how many couples coming over in a couple of weeks over Pesach, sitting down and doing this Thrive or Survive lecture. Because they want to have these tools now. Because again, for all the different chapters of life, it's the passage of time. We cannot, the chapters unfold as they may, but it's how we respond to the individual chapters.
That's right.
What are we choosing in this moment? That's what you always have to ask yourself, because there is a choice point.
Sure.
Life's not telling you, here you are, the two of you, this is horrible. I feel naked and vulnerable. I can't do this.
What am I going to do with you now?
What am I going to do? I'm going to walk away from this, or I'm going to build this. They say the second love is even sweeter with the same person I'm talking.
We got that, yeah. But that's what I think. I think that's when a lot of people may need help.
Oh, definitely. And, whether it's marriage counseling or coaching, coaches do this.
Yeah.
And usually, one-on-one. It can be done. Couples counseling or couples coaching is wonderful. But again, you need support.
Well, you have
it's
to,
not something...
because if it's for a couple, after nesting, if you coach one, the other one doesn't get it,
Yes.
nothing happens.
Yes, you do it simultaneously.
Okay, so you have to coach both of them
and you
separately.
can do it, well, just at the beginning especially, to get both sides.
Yeah.
To get a sense of each of the
Right.
individual people before you bring them
To
together.
find themselves. Or just find yourself. Like I said, you're right. Go out, go on dates, just find time.
Get curious.
Walk, do anything just between the two of you. But I think the most important thing is communication. I found that people don't talk.
Talk about all of this.
Yeah.
Have these meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
Determine the two of you how you're going to move forward together to the next level.
Yeah.
And individually, you need to reflect upon how you're going to move forward in your personal growth and development.
Well, we can sit and talk about it
I could with you. For Gila. With Gila, I never have a shortage of things to say. It's wonderful.
It's an experience in life. And I think a lot of people have experienced that, especially when our kids leave home. It's,
we can all relate to this one.
We can all relate, but I'm happy to say that, I've dealt with it. I'm happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy when my son comes home. It's great,
It's beautiful feeling satisfied.
It is, yeah, but it's just a different way of life. We just, things have changed, but that's okay.
Change can be a great thing.
Okay, change is great. Thank you very much, Terri. Our
Thank
time
you.
is up. You
Thank
will
you.
come back and we'll talk about something else. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.